Well, here we are. Earth is still out of balance. Despite all the commitments made in the last decade, land degradation continues to accumulate. And this challenge is a complex one. Carbon dioxide, species extinction, and economic resilience are all going in the wrong direction. This is having an impact on livelihoods globally. Ecosystem restoration is core to solving each of these challenges, but only if it can be done properly, at a scale large enough to turn the tides, and in a comprehensive way to get the right outcomes for all stakeholders. Today, land managers don't have the tools they need to do this, and investors don't have the confidence to invest at scale. Dendra Systems' vision is to empower humanity to restore the balance of our natural world by creating the tools needed to scale ecosystem restoration. We're a global team of ecologists, data scientists, and engineers coming together to provide a holistic approach to landscape restoration for our complex and biodiverse ecosystems. We enable land managers to better manage their land and to better engage with stakeholders. So what does this look like? We provide the infrastructure to monitor environmental projects at scale and the platform to drive interventions that are needed. Using a combination of drone technology and ecology-trained AI, we can capture and analyze massive amounts of data and generate new insights to direct restoration work, monitor ecosystem health, and seed large biodiverse ecosystems. We are now capable of bringing consistent governance and transparency for all the environmental projects across each nation and put us on track for the journey towards our 2030 goals. This technology is now being used as environmental infrastructure. It's providing the hub for projects across all ecosystem types to be managed in one place. And investors now have that transparency and accountability in their projects to decrease risk and increase the likelihood of further investment. Essentially, we improve confidence, we provide the ability to have positive and proactive land management, and we enable stakeholders to make decisions, which is in stark contrast to what restoration stakeholders have access to today. We've built our track record in complex and challenging environments, partnering with some of the largest landowners across each nation. This transformation of workflows and environments is now being shared with more and more stakeholders globally. We've expanded our operations nationally across Australia and are now operating across the UK and in the MENA region. Without a massively scalable approach to restoring ecosystems, we cannot address the scope of the damage. Dendra is driving Moore's law for ecosystem restoration with high quality, high trust, scalable systems. Our experience has taken us from 1,000 hectares scale last year to 10,000 hectares scale this year, with our first 100,000 hectare project set to begin next year. Not only is this increasing project scale, but it's also opening up new verticals. Having built our technology with the world's largest resource companies, we are now providing our services to Europe's largest infrastructure managers and have begun rolling out our critical environmental infrastructure to national governments. We've had 400% top line growth this year with another 10-fold increase in scale capacity. We are growing. So if you are looking to power our next phase of growth, we'll be raising our Series B next year. So here we are in the decade for ecosystem restoration. My name is Susan Graham. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Dendra Systems, and I'm here virtually with one of our investors and board members, Nicole Connor. And I invite you to join us and take action in fighting for our natural world. So Nicole, as a board member and partner at Airbus Ventures, has been someone who's done exactly that. And I'm delighted to be able to hand over to Nicole now to introduce you to Airbus Ventures.
Thanks so much, Susan. I'm excited to be here with you today. So Airbus Ventures was launched in 2015. We are on our third fund with Airbus SE as our anchor investor, along with other external investors. And we like to focus on seed to Series D startup companies who are focusing on the technologies that we believe will disrupt aerospace. So for us, that investment thesis looks like autonomy, connectivity, new space, materials, quantum computing, amongst other frontier technologies like Dendra's. Our team is global. We're headquartered in Silicon Valley with offices in Tokyo and Toulouse, along with presence in Paris, Munich, and Washington, DC. And we're global because we invest globally. About 70% of our capital is deployed in North America, and the remaining 30% is in Europe, Asia, and Australia. Our team likes to be very hands-on. We like to help with everything from hiring to marketing and communications, and to helping our portfolio companies develop significant revenue generating opportunities with large corporates. And so Dendra, why Dendra? We were first introduced to Susan and her team by Tom Chi at @One Ventures, and we're so impressed with what we saw. We were looking for this type of approach, a full stack ecosystem restoration approach that was paired with not only this great team, this great product that has such detail-oriented, insight-generating tools for land managers, but it also had Susan with her leadership and her vision. And so for us, it was a no-brainer to come in with Dendra, and we were very proud to co-lead the Series A with Tom and his team. And for us, we see Dendra's solutions that they're developing as being the necessary ingredient for having auditable carbon credit markets. They have such informed, intelligent decision-making that they can provide to land managers, and collecting such impressive data that we think is going to be essential. So that was a little bit about Airbus Ventures and why we invested in Dendra. And with that, I'd like to turn to our fireside chat, Susan.
Fantastic.
So we see so many issues everywhere, right? Gender inequality, racism, and other forms of inequality, healthcare inequality. And all of these crises require a significant cultural shift from my perspective. And on top of that, we have these economic and environmental crises. So Susan, in your opinion, what do you think is the best place to start for us to tackle this failed infrastructure of the past and to build a more equitable and greener future?
In the way I see it is that this is a systemic problem, and it's causing environmental collapse. We need a full cultural and systems approach to the solution. When we talk about that infrastructure of the past, we need to rebuild infrastructure of the future to address the legacy of the past. And we need that infrastructure to consider environment, to consider community, and to consider long-term growth. That infrastructure needs to be appropriate for preparing our planet for the future needs. It needs thoughtful integration of all of these components: data and communities, automation and ecology. And if we can build this new infrastructure, then we'll have a more equitable future for all people and for our entire planet.
So what does that mean for Dendra 5-10 years down the line, this better and more equitable future?
Our vision is to marry ecosystem restoration, biodiversity quantification, and carbon sequestration to strengthen ecosystem resilience globally. We want to provide that infrastructure to monitor environmental projects at scale, accurately measure carbon sequestration, and provide that platform to restore ecosystems faster. So we've had 400% top line growth this year, and scale capacity increased tenfold each year for the last 5 years, and it's forecast to continue, which means that moving from 10,000 hectares to 100,000 hectares, this is all because we've built that environmental technology with these enormous resource companies that are heavily regulated. We're now providing our services to Europe's largest infrastructure managers, begun rolling out our infrastructure to national governments, and building on these markets, we're rolling out our services to the regulated carbon market. What we're wanting to do is align that with biodiversity and scaled outcomes. So today we see the market demanding scale, we see it demanding additionality and transparency. And at Dendra Systems, we're building the right infrastructure so that organizations can see their vision of 10 years' time and actually make it a reality. If I flip it back to you from the investor landscape, if we zoom out and think about growth of the venture landscape in this sector, do you think that there's been a shift from an invest to learn model versus the invest for profit when it comes to the space of ecological restoration or other sectors within sustainability?
Absolutely. I mean, I've definitely observed a shift where in the investment community where they're really seeing the business opportunities here. And I think those are really reflected in the numbers that you've seen within Dendra year over year and what we're excitedly projecting for next year as well. What I have seen is that I think other folks are now recognizing that significant landowners like mining owners, like large governments, really need to have efficient solutions like Dendra's in order to manage these land holdings and to effectively audit what's been done on other types of ecosystem restoration projects. So for us, what we see is you and your team creating the global standard for environmental management and monitoring, which is really exciting to see how that has grown with your capacity to do larger and larger projects. And so for us, we think that that is going to be integral for citizens and consumers to really have faith in the types of ecosystem restoration projects that are being undertaken. So yes, I 100%, and it's really exciting to watch that journey.
Yeah, super.
So to wrap up this session, Susan, what do you think is the most critical thing that we need to address ASAP?
We need transparency and regulation. We need transparency and regulation that promotes organizations to design projects, engage stakeholders, and generate insights to rectify our planetary crises. And we don't have time to get this wrong or to do it twice. So we need these things now. And if I throw it back to you, Nicole, what do we need as soon as possible?
Yeah, I think with what you just flagged, we don't have the time. And I think we're all out of patience with all of these inequities. And so for me, I think what we need is fortitude to courageously tackle all of these problems that we're seeing with whatever skill sets that we can bring to the table to work on them. It's why I'm really excited to be working with you and your team on the ecosystem restoration aspect of it. So with that, I guess we should go back to working on those. It's great to talk with you as always, Susan.
Likewise.